Welcome to Thor Media. I'm Ivan.
I'm Pan, the organizer.
And we're here to talk to you about a very interesting subject today. That is white labeling versus private labeling versus contract blending. It's something that in this industry people talk about a lot without really knowing the ins and outs of those things. Now, your products are?
They are contract labeled.
Yeah. Contract blended.
Contract blended, yes.
Contract blending. White labeling and private labeling are basically the same thing. They're not a different thing. It's just basically white labeling is I can go to a manufacturer and say, I really like the product that you have there, but I'd like it in pink instead of purple. Can you do that for me? Yes. And then they put your label on it. Or you buy a 55-gallon drum, you put it in that drum, or they send you the drum, you bottle it down. A lot of different ways of doing it. But it ends up that you don't own the formula. You don't own the product. You have no idea what's in it other than what you can read on the SDS sheet. And
even I'm new to this world now since launching my brand, but you had yours now for a few years and you've been partners with, well, you helped many brands before that.
Yeah.
And so even I was confused with the terms. I thought, because I own the intellectual property, just like you guys do for your own formula, so two distinct brands. And for me, it was added value because you can take that formulation that belongs to you legally, and if anything happens with your blender or you need to change blending houses or that kind of stuff, you can bring the formula with you. So I thought that was private labeling, but actually that is contract
blending.
Contract blending.
Yeah.
So those three different types, and I think it's important to understand the differences because there's a lot of confusion. That topic often gets controversial as well. And so to demystify this, it's important to talk about the pros and cons. Because it doesn't, some people do white blending, they do it well.
Yeah.
They're upfront with it. Like we were talking about our friend Matt from Obsessed Garage.
Yeah.
So he has a few products like his drying aid that he white labels from B&B Blending, which also makes one for Adams Polishes. And he's very upfront with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good product. He uses it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And so he decided to remove the scent from it and to remove the dyes.
Right.
So he modified a few of those things, but not the formulation itself, right?
No, the formula itself still belongs to B&B Blending. So with that, with his drying aid, he can't go to another blending house and say, hey, can you guys make this for me? My blending house is back ordered at the moment, or they can't get this raw material, or they've just, in one case that we've had is the blending houses that we started out with just got too small. They couldn't keep up with our demand, and they asked us to go somewhere else, which is a little strange in this industry, and it'll happen to you soon enough. But what happens is we own the formula, and there are some products that we make that are not blended in one facility. They're actually blended in two different facilities. You get two bottles from two completely different facilities. They're identical because we own the formula. Now, the difference, if you want to start your own brand, and this is a question I get a lot of people ask me, how do I start a brand? The two ways of doing it are contract blending like we do, or private labeling. Private labeling, if you're wanting to start your brand, is very, very economical to do and very quick to do. It can happen in a week. It can be that fast. So if you have your label designed, you know what you want. Let's say you tried a product, and by the way, B&B Blending, they have over 400 brands that they blend for. So they are a powerhouse in the industry. And we'll use them as an example, but there's a lot of there's Car Candy that blends for a lot of different people. There's Kaplan, there's all sorts of different companies that do it. But you can go to one of these companies and say, I like this existing formula that you have, but like I said before, I'd like it pink instead of purple, whatever. How much? They will give you a price. They will give you, if they bottle it, if you bottle it, if you buy it in a 55-gallon drum, if you buy it in a 200-gallon tote, or if you buy it by a tanker full. Depends on how you want to do that. And then from there, you bottle it, you label it, you do the marketing. So at this point, you're just a marketing company per se. You've got products, but they're other people's products. One example of this, you go on Amazon and you want to buy a widget, whatever that widget is. Let's say a tripod. You'll look and you'll see one tripod, and then you'll look at another one and another one and another one and another one. They all have different brand names. Sometimes they even all use the same images, but they have different brand names. The price might vary by $1 or $2. But those are people that are private labeling, meaning that they don't own the intellectual rights to it.
That's why they all look the same as well.
Yeah, they all look the same because they're made by the same manufacturer. Then they're just, put in that box, and this box has this label, this box has that label. So that is private labeling or white labeling. And white labeling, the term came about because people were sending an unlabeled bottle or a white label, and then you would put your own label over top of it. So that's where the term white labeling came in, or private labeling. Now, contract blending is very different. You have to have your own chemists. Some manufacturers, some blenders have an in-house chemist, and if you tell them what you want, that's fine. But you have to pay for every one of these formulas, and it's not free. There's a couple different ways of doing it. One is you hire their chemist, you pay for that chemist's time, however long it takes until you get to the formula that you want, and you bought that formula because you paid for the chemist's time. There are some blending houses that have their in-house chemists, and what they do is we will give you the formula once you attain this amount of sales per year. So until you reach that tipping point, they're not your formulas. So at that point, you're more private labeling than contract blending. But when you reach that the level of profitability for them, because it's not free to develop products.
No.
Before DIY was started, we were very much in the hole. And same thing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something that you can do with, a 10 or 20 or $1 million investment for that matter. Every one of these products, to have it formulated, to have everything worked out, you're looking at easily $50,000 to $100,000 per product in time from the chemist. Now, if you have a really talented chemist and he hits a home run out of the gate, thank him
Yeah.
or her, and then from there, move forward. But there's
Many iterations.
There's always revisions.
Oh, yeah.
And in your case, you
Yeah.
actually pitted 2 chemists against each other.
3 in total.
Three?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that was one fun thing that I wanted is, again, I was confusing private labeling and white labeling. So now I understand they're the same. So what I'm doing is contract labeling.
Contract blending.
Contract blending. You see,
Yeah.
I'm still not getting it fully right.
Yeah.
So for me, it was important. Why, first of all, to own the intellectual property is I think it adds more value to the brand. Now, on the side, I'm somebody who loves to have investments in the financial markets. I like business propositions. My YouTube channel is a business, and I wanted to build another business for the legacy, for my passion, and to bottle that into something. But I knew I wanted to take a point, having been on YouTube for almost 9 years at this point, I knew I wanted to own my own formulas. Now, again, there's a lot of people who do the white labeling right, and that's fine, no problem with that. But for me, I wanted something different. Because of my background in molecular biology and biochemistry, I wanted to be able to sit down with chemists, tell them what I want. I knew what my viewers wanted. That's one good thing about answering the comments through all these years, is I got a feel for what people actually wanted and needed sometimes, based on budgets, based on subjective stuff, based on actual tests, based on what I see that was working well in the industry too. And then how can we make something that's proprietary to me, that nobody else has, that will add value to the brand? So come one day when it's time to retire, when I'm in my old ages, hopefully as long as I'm having fun, this will continue. But there gets a point, maybe the business will be for sale at an older age. Well, that adds value, because if you're just white labeling, there's not much to it, because other than your marketing, you don't own the intellectual properties. There's not much that the buyer can do with that. So working with different chemists as well, the cool thing that I found is it's rare that you'll get one person that has lightning in a bottle for all your products. So by working with different labs, different chemists, sometimes in different countries as well, you have different experiences, you have different life experience, but also chemical experience.
Yeah.
Some have decades of experience in the industry, some have detailing experience as well, and they became chemists, so on and so forth. But you're able to custom tailor something to what you know would work for you and for your audience as well, or to your potential customers.
Yeah.
So I think working together with specific chemists, and also there's that sense of competition. Now, this is something that I found pretty cool, is because they cost a fortune per bottle, not per bottle, but per formula.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I'm getting something that I'm proud of. So instead of just going to one chemist, I had 3 different ones, or 2 depending on which product, but I say pit them against each other. It was still politically correct and polite, but still you're having the opportunity to say to someone, hey, I want this produced for me. What's the best that you can produce? And this other person, the same challenge. And at the end, you have the luxury of picking the one you want that did the best job with your formulation, and then give them that contract.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah.
I've been in the industry a long time, and I've worked with a lot of different companies helping to develop products and formulas and stuff like that. So I went to the people I knew, and the person that does our coatings, just does our coatings. There's nothing else that they do, but that's his specialty. The one that does our surfactants, so the soap, the rinseless, the all clean, again, that's their specialty, and they do a great job at that. So it's finding out which chemist is best tailored for the job, and it's very easy to go to a chemist and say, what's your background? What products have you developed? And then normally, when you get to this level of NDAs and all that fun stuff, at that point, once you have an NDA signed with them, they'll open up and say, I developed this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And in that case, it's easy for Pan or for myself to go, okay, I really liked those 4 products that you developed. Let's talk about a spray sealant.
Yeah.
So I really like those 4 spray sealants you developed, so let's go forward with that. But the other one that they developed 2 or 3 spray sealants and they're like, they're okay, but they could have been better. Then there's no point wasting their time, and there's no point wasting our time testing products that they don't have the expertise to do that. So by pitting 2 or 3 chemists, we have 5 different chemists that we use depending on what the product is. Same with you, you've got your 3. So it means that we own the formulas. We paid for the formulas, which is the not fun part. And it's a gamble. It's a business opportunity in the sense that, okay, we've paid for these formulas. We know we like them. That doesn't mean you like them. That doesn't necessarily mean this is the only spray sealant in the world. My spray sealant, I happen to think it's really good. His spray sealant, he happens to think it's the best. But
the best.
Yeah, the period. But anyways, with
we can laugh about it now.
Yeah. But with that, we don't develop products to be okay.
Yeah.
We develop products for us to be happy with them.
Correct.
And the DIY detail line was developed around a system that Sylvie and I had developed in our shops over years of R&D. And we knew exactly what we wanted. And to make that system a reality, that's where DIY comes in. For Pan, he's tested a couple thousand products at this point.
I stopped counting,
Yeah. If you see his shelves, it's just amazing the amount of products he has. And those are the ones he keeps are only the ones he likes.
Yeah.
Then he's got all the other ones.
80%.
That
are gone.
Yeah, that are gone. So with that, he knew exactly what he wanted.
That's what I should have said. Yeah. What was the best for me? Just like what was the best for your scenario?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's knowing what is the best for him. And with Pan, he's got a history of almost 9 years, 1 million subscribers. I don't know how many millions and millions of views. 150 million views. Yeah. So, and all those comments, like Pan, on the DIY detail channel, I answer all the comments. On this video that's on the House of Rags, I'll be down there answering the comments as well. So will Pan. So if you have questions for us, leave them below. We love answering your questions. And it's something that Pan's done for 9 years, answering everyone's questions.
It's tough at this point.
He doesn't have a robot doing it. He doesn't have AI doing it. No. We don't have someone hired to do it. He does it on his channel. I do it on our channel. And
I will finally get some help though.
Yes.
So we went through some interviews.
You have the stig coming.
At this point, it's like 6 to 8 hours a day that I spend just replying to comments just on YouTube. I can't do it on the other platforms as well because it just gets overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I knew I was sinking under the water. My viewers were begging me like, Pan, get some help. Like, we appreciate that you respond, but please, so we're going to get some help there.
Yeah.
It gets overwhelming, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to have Pan's stig soon. But anyways.
So the other thing I wanted to say about the contract blending portion, the thing that I also did not know, and that I found out talking with all these different chemists, is that legally speaking, so when you're doing contract blending and you own the intellectual property, also the chemist has an obligation, legally speaking, to make the formulations different enough from one brand to another, to not say that, oh, I'm taking the lazy way out. The guy who I'm talking about, maybe it could be a detailer starting his own brand, right? And he doesn't really know the chemistry behind it. And he says, I'm just going to take that same formulation, charge him the whole amount, and tell him it's his intellectual property. No, he has the legal obligation to make every different formulation. So let's say we have different chemists, but if you have the same one as mine for the ceramic spray sealant, for example, he's legally binded to make mine different chemically enough than yours to make sure that when the chemistry or the formula is there, if we were to go to court for some whatever reasons, it needs to be proven very clearly that these are two distinct formulas and that they share nothing in common. Obviously then a couple of ingredients, because there are certain building blocks that you need, but overall there's a certain percentage that they need to meet, that the formulations themselves are very different.
Yeah, and we'll take our spray sealants. So your spray sealant, versus our ceramic gloss, if you've tried both of them, you know they're very, very different in how they work and how they use. Something that has been talked about a lot is our polishes.
Yes.
They're both spray polishes. That's where the similarity ends. They're not made in the same place. They're not the same polish.
Not even the same
They
lab,
work differently.
Yours is made for you can work it a really long time.
Yeah.
Mine is made for that ultra fast cut. So as soon as you use them, you understand that they're different. So people I think assumed initially because we're good friends and they saw 2 spray polishes. But if we go back in time, I remember the days of Optimum with hyper polish and the hyper compound. Those were sprays before we had our sprays. So it's not something new to market. And actually, many companies, if they wanted to, they could come out with spray polishes.
Right.
It's just that I found that very convenient in spray form. Well, at the end of the day, we have very different formulations.
Yeah, and so people have done this. Take a sprayer, put it in your favorite polish and start spraying it. It never ends well. The formula has to be formulated to be sprayed, not the thickness of it, but the concentration of abrasives in it.
Yep.
Because if you take your normal cream style that you're normally putting 3 or 4 drops on your pad,
pea size,
and you try to spray it, you're going to have all sorts of problems. So some of them work, they're okay, but it has to be designed for it.
Absolutely.
And like Pan was saying, we have that design, and our polishes come from completely different chemist factories. It just happens to be they both have a sprayer with them.
Yeah.
The only similarity is we both use a Tulco sprayer.
Yeah.
But
because we wanted quality sprayers.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're working with a chemist, like Pan said, it's not, hey, I really like this formula. Can you just tweak it a little bit? That's never not never going to happen. With a reputable chemist and a reputable blending house, that's never going to happen.
Yep.
They won't take someone else's formula because they know that it's that formula. This isn't the case, but let's put it this way. You can have a Wendy's hamburger and a McDonald's hamburger made in the same factory. They're not, they own their own factories. They're very different hamburgers. They might be made in the same factory. That's where the similarity ends. Now, we have, I think, one product that crosses the line where it's made in the same factory, and that factory happens to make that type of product for many others because of some limitations with the raw materials.
Yeah.
But every one of those companies that they make that formulation for is different. The scent, the texture, all sorts of things change because they start with a base chemical, and that base chemical, they're the ones that manufacture it. So there's no getting around that. And then from there, if you want that base chemical, then you need to go with them. But that being said, they might make it for 10 different people, and the 10 different formulas are very, very different. They work differently. The dwell time is different. The way it reacts with the surface is different. There's all sorts of things that are different. So yes, we use chemists. I'm not a chemist. Pan,
even though I have a background in biochemistry, that's still not chemistry.
No,
so
it's
I understand.
very different. Yeah.
So for me, it's more about DNA, deoxyribonucleic acids, mitochondria, and all that, and a Golgi apparatus, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where a chemist would go like, I don't really understand that.
Yeah.
So although I can understand the chemical basis and it allows me to have a deeper discussion, well, we still need those chemists that have that industry knowledge, because also a chemist from, let's say, the cosmetics industry is not the same as the detailing industry.
No.
So they have specific knowledge on these surfaces, glass, plastics, wheels, paint, all that kind of stuff that they need to understand. And that comes with experience and doing a deeper dive in their specific micro niche in the chemistry world.
Yeah.
So they have, the knowledge is very, very important, actually.
Yeah. So the next time you're buying a product, whether it's ours, whether it's someone else's, and you read online that, oh, that's just private labeled, it can, or it may be private labeled, and there's nothing wrong with private labeling. No. Once again, if you want to start your own detailing brand, it's a very quick and inexpensive way to get your foot in the door. I wanted to start DIY detail. I had a vision, and that vision I carry through. Pan had a vision with his, and we've been friends for a long time. He's been talking about having his own brand for 5 years now. But it took over a year of R&D to get to this point. With DIY Detail, we started in 2019 doing the R&D, and we launched in 2022. That's 3 years of investment before we put one thing forward.
And I would even add, that's one reason why also I started with a very small lineup of 7 products, because it takes so much time. People ask, why didn't you also have a wheel cleaner, an iron remover, an interior detailer, a quick detailer for the outside? Well, because they take time. So I wanted to launch the brand, have what I call the core lineup, so the things you need to start up. And then as time progresses, we're already in R&D and development and testing for future products in 2025. So I'm going to add as time goes, but that takes time.
Yeah.
Because it's not only the chemist, and as you know too, they can produce something. They're amazing brains at creating a formula, but that doesn't necessarily always translate to real world use and experience.
No.
So when we do the real world testing, that's why there's I think we've done 7 or 11 different iterations and revisions because it was just not working for me in my conditions. Again, if that chemist is in southern United States somewhere, and I'm from Montreal, Canada with harsh winters, I like to try my stuff as well and see how it's going to hold up. So there's this back and forth, and that's how good of a relationship you need to establish.
Yeah.
It's cool, it's amazing because you have full control
Right.
and you have these discussions, but it is time consuming. My YouTube channel alone was taking so much time. If you guys think that it's simple starting a detailing brand, if you're doing contract blending, it is one of the hardest things. I thought YouTube was hard. That is another level because there is different things you need to get right. You need to establish those relationships. And we haven't even spoken about yet the third-party logistics for shipping, packaging.
Yeah.
I'm a one-man show. I cannot do all that. And I certainly have too much volume for just doing it out of my garage. So I needed help. And that's when you can branch out and find people like distributors from the House of Rags that can help me in this case, distribute the products, packaging, do the customer service, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of like bits and pieces that need to come together for you to start up a brand like that.
Yeah. And like I said, you can start in your garage. There's a lot of people, that's how they started, and they start with one little product and work from there, and they might be white labeling. Don't put those people down.
No.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Now, we chose not to do that, but that's, the long-term payoff will be there. The short-term investment is very, very hard. But once you get past that, then it's easier to grow, because when you're white labeling versus contract blending, you're paying every time for that formula. When you're white labeling, the cost goes up a little bit, and we can buy in bulk. There's one time we had to turn around and change manufacturers of a product because they couldn't do it anymore. We got too big for them, and they literally just told us, we placed an order, and it's like, sorry, we're not going to fill that order. What do you mean? That's a scary situation.
Yeah.
But since we own the formula, it's easy to go, okay, we'll find someone that will do it.
Yeah.
So that is, there's a big investment that has to happen for contract blending. And like Pan said, we don't do everything. I don't own a manufacturing facility. I don't own a warehouse. DIY Detail happens to use the same distribution warehouse, or a 3PL, as the House of Rags. House of Rags is distributed by Pan, and of course, DIY Detail is
and there's
distributed.
many other brands. It's a big warehouse. In the US,
it's a huge warehouse.
Yeah.
And that warehouse has the capacity to grow with us. And that's why we chose them. And also, we found out afterwards the House of Rags had already chosen them as well. So it just happens to be we both use the same warehouse. And there's a lot of other brands using that same warehouse. So yes, sometimes, unfortunately, recently we had Black Friday, which the sales for Black Friday were over the top. We didn't expect it at all. The House of Rags didn't expect the amount of sales that they had, et cetera, et cetera. So the warehouse, yes, was caught off guard because they can't just hire people on a whim and say, okay, today we have 50 people working in the warehouse, but tomorrow we'll need 150.
Yeah.
It's just hard to do.
Yeah.
So yes, there was a bit of time, and whenever there is a big sale like that, expect delays. But that being said, we have, for us, they're contract blended. We can move from one blender to another. And as an example, we're distributed in Europe. You're soon to be distributed in Europe.
Yep.
If the market gets big enough, we can simply have it blended in Europe.
Yeah.
So right now,
because you own the intellectual property.
Right.
So that recipe, he has them.
Yeah.
I have my recipes. Yeah.
And there's a lot of companies that don't ship to Europe or are only in the USA because the blender that they're using doesn't have the certifications.
Yep.
Doesn't have the capacity to ship overseas.
Or sometimes uses chemistry.
Yeah,
that
chemistry
is not allowed in regulations overseas. Yeah.
Right. There's one product that we want to start blending in Europe for that market because it sells a lot, but we can sell the product there with the chemistry that's in it, but it can't be produced there with the chemistry that's in it. We're still going to do it. It's going to take a bit of time, but we have to have it reformulated to go with the products that are available locally. So that is another thing. A company we both deal with, Labo Cosmetica, or Mafra, which is the main brand, they have a blending facility in India, because the market in India got so big for them, it was not good to ship from Italy to India. So they decided to start blending in India. They started contract blending, and now they have a factory there. So those are things that as the brands grow, we can do that. But to start off, we have enough of an investment in the chemistry itself that building a factory, building a warehouse, that's just not going to happen. It'll take another 5 to 10 years before we get to that point, because just DIY detail, we take up 150,000 square feet of that warehouse. So that's a lot of space. That's not a small warehouse. So that is something that we really need to concentrate on. And we know working with a 3PL, there's sometimes a bit of difficulty.
Yeah.
But the 3PL we're working with, they're great.
Yeah.
They've been around a long time. They're known in the industry. They do the best that they can. We're updating our ways of doing things to make it easier for them. As an example, the packaging for our coatings is going to change shortly. Part of that change was driven by the little boxes that we had before. They had to assemble those, and that was taking time and slowing down the rest of the process. So now they just put the coating in the box, put the applicator in the box, close the box, ship it to you.
I love that. See, this is also how you improve on things based on customer feedback or things that you notice. Like for me, I was focusing so much on the formulas, I forgot the other part of the aspect, which was the shipping, the packaging, and all that kind of stuff. And we're also like, we learn from the mistakes, right? So even though the lab, for example, was putting these child-proof lids on and had some sort of a seal from the factory, it wasn't tight enough in the sense of we forget that when the shippers like UPS, like FedEx, let's be honest, sometimes they will throw boxes or there's a lot of damaged stuff. So in there, if there is a bit of leakage, we want to prevent that. Why not, right? So we're going to be improving the way we add some small caps within those lids to prevent future leaks. There's going to be boxes that are going to be better packaged later on at the 3PL, thicker sidewalls, all that kind of stuff. So there's always things that you learn as you grow. And even for you, I like to hear that for a business that's been almost 3 years now, you're constantly looking to improve. It's not only the formulations themselves, there's all these like extra things or layers that are on that you need to manage as a business owner that make the end result for the customer a better user experience in the end.
Yeah. So as I said, if you have any questions, leave them below. We'll both be there to answer. The House of Rags, thank you for allowing us this bit of time. And remember, there's at least one House of Rags podcast every day.
Yes.
Now, they're starting to be available on the podcast platforms, not just YouTube. So keep an eye out. Keep searching. You'll find it. They're already on Spotify. Apple is next, and then they'll grow out to the other podcasts.
A great bunch of content creators, a mix of different people from different walks of life, different detailing experience levels, some DIYers in there, some detailing professionals, some do it from home, some do it from their shop. It's an amazing, eclectic bunch of individuals, everybody passionate at the end of the day about detailing. Yeah,
and there'll actually be more people added to the roster. So eventually their goal is to have 3 podcasts per day. I know you can't keep up, but in your commute, if you're listening to it, and you'll find some content creators that you enjoy, some that you don't enjoy as much, and that's fine. Not everyone pleases everyone.
No.
Just like our products are developed for us and the way we work, and then we translate that to you. And part of what we do is education. We're here to help educate. We're here to show you how we use the products and to make it so it's fun for you to do the job.
In hopes that we transmit our passion and knowledge to you guys as well. So you've been detailing for over 40 years. I've been doing it for over 27 years, over almost 9 years now on YouTube, and you guys as well on your channel for a while. So at the end of the day, we just love sharing what we know and our passion and inspire either people to start their own business, or if you're a DIYer, maybe you've never detailed before, or to get that, I call it the detailing bug, because it's fun. At the end of the day, doing this, it's supposed to give you a sense of satisfaction. I still call it soothing and relaxing. Even after all this time, I put some tunes in the garage, put some music, and just enjoy the process. And hopefully you guys too by watching the House of Rags, by the way. And if you want to support them, go check out what they have on their website. They have some awesome brands. That's why we trusted them as well with distributing some of our stuff. So whether it's DIY Detail or C6 Ceramics or Clean by Pan, the organizer, check it out. Support all the other great brands that they have there as well. And of course, check out the podcast. If you guys have ideas for a future podcast with me and Yvan, drop a comment in the comment section. It's always cool for us to meet up and work some magic together.
Exactly. And we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.